Well, hello again, and welcome to our latest Breeders' Cup preview. Not long to go now, just under a week now before the big championship, and most of the European runners have headed out to Keeneland this weekend, or should be arriving early in the week. There's about 24 or so horses come from Europe or heading over to Keeneland from Europe, and 3 of them come from Jessica Harrington's yard in Ireland. And delighted to be joined by her daughter and assistant trainer, Kate. Morning, Kate. How are things?
Hi, Ali. Good to see you. Yeah, no, all good.
And the horses are your 3 runners safely in Kentucky now?
Yeah, they're there with our 3 staff. Adrian's in charge, Eddie and Aoife, and they headed off on Friday morning, and they got there late on early Saturday morning. So it was I think about 22 hours the whole trip and all. And by the time they flew from Shannon to Stansted and got on the plane and then got to Lexington. So it's all really good, really exciting.
Now, I like your Breeders' Cup hat, but that gives it a bit of a clue. You had a runner there last year, the yard. That was your first runner, but to have 3, I mean, it's getting serious stuff now, isn't it? I mean, it's sort of a similar amount as John Gosden, I think.
Yeah, it's really, really exciting. I think last year Albania, obviously, she won the Win You're in the Marcel Boussac in Longchamp, and she went over then straight away afterwards, and she was a bit unlucky. She didn't really take the first bend very well, but it was such a good experience. And I think all this year Mum has kind of been in the back of her head, what will we aim there, because it's the world championship of horse racing.
Well, I mean, your mother's had runners around Europe, I guess, mostly. But why was it so good? What sets it apart then, having runners at the Breeders' Cup?
It was just the atmosphere, everything, the big deal about it. It was such a phenomenal experience. It's where all the great flat horses meet and go head to head. It's a bit like you could compare it to jumping in Cheltenham.
We'll get on to that in a minute, because I think a lot of the American viewers won't know that you're a dual-purpose yard and got serious jump horses as well. But your 3 runners then heading to Keeneland, or in Keeneland at the moment, spearheaded by Cayenne Pepper, who's running in the filly and mares turf. How would you rate her chances?
Yeah, Cayenne is really, really only just coming to herself. She had a bit of a late start. We started her off in the Pretty Polly, which she was second to Magical, and then she was second in the Irish Oaks, and then she was second again we were a bit disappointed after that run when she was second to Tarwana in a Group 3 down Cork, but Tarwana's gone out and won 2 Group 1s since. And then she was absolutely phenomenal in the Blandford over Irish Champions weekend. And just the sense that we then, after that, just were like, we're going to go for the fillies and mares at the Breeders' Cup with her, because then her owner, Sarah Kelly, can come and see her as well.
Because it's, I guess she'd be a poignant runner, but a poignant winner, because her American owner, John Kelly, he died earlier in the year. And he obviously wanted to get the horse over so he could see her, because I presume he never managed to get over to the UK to see her this season.
No, not this season, unfortunately, due to COVID. Like John would have always planned a trip in and around Irish Champions weekend. He's been over with us the last 2 years. And yeah, it was very much John was unfortunately diagnosed with an illness earlier in the year. And it was always Cayenne that was kind of keeping him going at the time. And for her, like, even though she got beat in the Irish Oaks, it was such a poignant time, because we knew he was so sick at the time. And it was just so unfortunate that she did unfortunately get beaten by Even So. But then when she went out and won Irish Champions weekend, it just made things so much better. And it was always kind of the right stepping stone then to aim her for the Breeders' Cup.
And so Sarah, John's wife, she'll be at Keeneland?
Yeah, Sarah will be there and really looking, well, I won't get to see her, but it'll be great that she gets to go to see Cayenne run, and she's flying up from California. And I think they've had 2 runners in the past in the Breeders' Cup, no winner, but it's great for them to have a runner.
And I mean, she's not among the real fancied runners, but would you rate having a good each way chance?
I think she's got a really, really good each way chance. We know she will handle the bends. She goes left-handed. She's won around Leopardstown. Like, comparing any Irish tracks to Keeneland, I would always say Leopardstown is a very, very good guideline. It's got 2 good bends in it, and I think she goes there with every chance.
And now tell me about your two juvenile runners that you've got, which will be on the Friday.
Yeah, Udna Data, she's a really, really nice filly. We think an awful lot of her. She won her maiden really, really well. And then unfortunately on her second start, she got a little bit upset in the stalls just before the gates opened, and she kind of blew her chance in that Group 3. And then she was a very, very good staying on second or third in the Moyglare. And unfortunately, like, we didn't have her fully wound up for that day, because she had a little bit of not even, she was just did a lot of growing midway through the season, so we didn't have her quite wound up for that. But she goes into the Breeders' Cup 110%, and we're really, really excited about her chances. And then we have Cadillac, and obviously he was a little bit disappointing the last day in Newmarket, but the 2 times he has been beat, they've both been on straight tracks, and they've been soft ground. So it looks like it's going to be a drying week over in Keeneland. So hopefully it can dry out. And his 2 wins have both, as I talked about Leopardstown there earlier, brown 2 bends. And I think he's got a really, really good chance.
And of
3 winners, easy.
Yeah, 3 winners. I was going to say, come on, of the 3, who you're most hopeful about?
I think Kay and Pepper, she seems to be a filly who's developed really, really well through the season. And I think just with her going there, her prep has been seamless, and we really couldn't be happier with her.
And she's travelled over okay because she's arrived in Keeneland?
Yeah, she's travelled over really well. She ate and drank, and she did a lot of lying down all day Saturday. So that's something I like to see. And Adrian, I just got a message from there just before we went on saying she'd eaten up last night and seems much brighter this morning.
Well, it's a shame you're not going to be out there. I know your mum's going, but in terms of being back at the yard, because as I said, a lot of the American audience won't realise that you guys are hugely successful on the flat, Group 1 winners in across Europe, but also the jump racing, which is big in Ireland, big in the UK, one of the most successful jumps trainers as well. How does that logistically work in the yard? I mean, do you have 2 separate yards? Do you train them differently?
No, they're all like thrown in. Like, you could come up to our yard and like first lot is literally there'd be 2-year-olds, 3-year-olds, jump horses, 3-mile chasers, 5 furlong sprinters. Like, they're all, Mum is a genius. She seems to train them all together, and we're very, very fortunate with our gallops we have at home, is that we can mix things up and they all train alongside seamlessly.
And do they train, do you do different type of training for a 3-mile chaser to a 5 furlong sprinter?
Yeah, well, they go a lot. They do a little bit more endurance work compared to the 5 furlong sprinter, but you could easily have a 2-year-old, especially now when we go into December, January, when all the yearlings come in. You could have a yearling upside the 3-mile chaser, because Mum always says the older horses and the jumpers treat the young babies' manners.
I bet it does help, doesn't it? Rather than have a string of 2-year-olds, having the old jumper in there as well to keep things a bit calmer. Nicer for the work riders. You're very much involved with the yard. So is your sister Emma. A real family affair. What was it? I mean, growing up, was it always going to be a career in horses for you?
No, it was always going to be a career in horses. I always wanted to be within horses. It was probably more I wanted to go to the Olympics and go 3-day eventing. And it was just fortunate enough that when our great jumper Moscow Flyer retired, Mum thought it would be a good idea if I rode him in a charity race. So I got the bug that day in Punchestown when I rode him, and of course he went and won with me, and I just got the bug, and I got my amateur license then, and I rode plenty of winners on the track and on the flat. So it was that's kind of how it all happened.
Because your mum did event and did go to the Olympics, am I right?
Yeah, she went. She actually, unfortunately, went to the Los Angeles Olympics, and her horse actually went lame when it got out there. And then she was meant to go to the Olympics, but the substitute Olympics, when it was all boycotted, then she technically went twice, but didn't actually get to compete.
But obviously competing at the top level in eventing, and you did as well yourself, and juniors and young riders. Do you think that's helped when it comes to racing, and in terms of really being able to spot potential in racing, but also just day to day in horse management?
Yeah, I definitely think it does help. Like, it's all about ground routes. Like, I always think the engine on a horse comes from the back end. So the horse has got to be like on the flat in dressage or anything. The horse has got to be working through from behind. And it always drives me mad. Like a lot of our horses would ride out in running reins, especially during the winter, and just to make sure they're going in the right shape. And we're very, very fortunate because we're in Kildare and there's a lot of good young eventers that event living near to us, and they ride out for us. So we've got a lot of really, really good girls who know all about dressage, having a horse going the right way. So we're really fortunate in that sense that we do get horses going. Well, I'd like to think get going in the right outline and shape. And I think it really does help them when they go racing and they've got to put that little bit of extra power towards the end of a race.
Yeah, I totally agree with you, coming from a bit more of an eventing background as well. But I mean, and you say you've got good girls riding out. I mean, there's the three of you in charge, your mother and yourself and your sister Emma. Do you think there are more girls in your yard, or what is it? Do you think it's a sort of? I mean, I get asked this question lots as myself. I mean, it is a sort of more male-dominated sport around the world, but you guys are sort of really proving that, you know, doing one for the girls, both for training and being a jockey as well.
Yeah, no, exactly. I think we do have a good few girls. We've got a good mix of people across the board working for us. But I think horses. I think some horses, like especially the quirky ones, the horses that maybe the 2-year-olds that are a bit more immature, they need a bit of a sympathetic ride. And I think some of them with a good girl on the back definitely brings them forward.
Yeah, I think that's probably true. Any more aspirations to keep riding yourself? Because you were mad crazy a few years ago, but it's sort of now training taking a bit more centre stage.
Yeah, definitely the training. I barely even get to ride out now. I get Super Sunday and the good old jump horse. I ride him out the odd time and Jet. But no, I'm much more on the ground helping mum the whole time. And it's full on. When you have 30, 40 horses in a string, you have to be on the button and you have to be watching, seeing how they're working and everything. And I'm really, really enjoying it. It's definitely a role I've definitely taken on more so in the last year and a half.
Well, you're going to be holding fort then while your mum is out in Keeneland, hopefully picking up lots of prizes out there with the 3 runners. Thank you very much for joining us, Kate. Good luck this week. So, Kay and Pepper, just a reminder then, probably, well, you thought was the sort of best chance of the 3 of your runners?
Yeah, I hope if any of them were to win, I really want her to win.
It would be super if she does. Thank you, Kate. And just a reminder, as you can see on the bottom of the screen, that for all your Breeders' Cup coverage, visit americasbestracing.net, and there'll be some live shows previewing all the action from Keeneland this weekend. But from Kate and I, it's a very warm goodbye and good luck to all the runners and riders at Keeneland for Breeders' Cup 2020.